And welcome back to our continued coverage of the TIA 2015 Network of the Future Conference. Joining us now is Andre Fuetsch. He's Senior Vice President of Architecture and Design at AT&T. And Andre, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thanks for being here. I had the pleasure of listening to your keynote not long ago. Really interesting stuff. Really good to hear that AT&T is really putting both feet into this SDN push. Clearly, the industry is moving from hardware-centric platforms to software-centric platforms. In a general sense, how is AT&T taking advantage of this transition?
Yeah, so we're really taking a leadership role here across the industry here. Not only are we working with the supply chain to make this evolution a reality, but we're also working in a lot of the software communities, even academia, driving the standards, building the alliances that will be required to make this a success. And it's a really big fundamental pivot for us as we move from this more hardware-centric world that we traditionally have been in to a much more software-centric world. So the agility, the flexibility you see with software, we're really now bringing that to fruition here in the network.
Is your, and excuse me if I'm projecting here, but is your 5-year plan to make your network software defined? Is that what your goal is?
Yes, that's a big part of it. So our plan, and we call this our Domain 2.0 program, is much more than just software-defined networking. It's also instituting a whole new operational framework on how we run and control these networks. So oftentimes, you know, the two big drivers behind it obviously are SDN and FE, but the big thing for us is also delivering that in a operational framework that's much more efficient, much more scalable, much more effective than we have today. And that's one of our big drivers of achieving the cost structure of the future that we really need.
Now, Andre, of course, we do interviews, or TI now does interviews such as this, where, again, we get a general sense of the trends and which direction companies like AT&T are moving in. But we less often get a real use case of how a company like AT&T would be adopting a technology like SDN or SDN platforms. Can you give us a use case?
Absolutely. So, in fact, it's a product and service we have in the market today. It's called Network on Demand. And basically, this gives the ability for our enterprise customers the ability to control the bandwidth between their sites. And it's not, you know, if you take a look at the traditional way of doing it, if you wanted to add, open up a pipe, let's say, between two centers that a particular customer might have, they would actually have to call the company up, make arrangements, and then you would see weeks later the change go into effect. What we've done with Network on Demand is basically SDN controlled that entire network. And that basically takes those weeks of provisioning time that I mentioned earlier down to seconds and minutes. So now the customer, through basically a web portal, can change the speed of the links they have between their sites within minutes.
Now, of course, AT&T Suppliers Conference is right here, co-located with the TIA event on Thursday, June 4th. It's called Domain 2.0, and I know you stressed in your keynote several times that this is your SDN play. But was that always the case? Were you calling it the SDN?
No, Domain 2.0 is a larger program, really around, obviously, there was a Domain 1.0, and that was really to provide a focus around certain key suppliers in terms of how they were building into our network. Domain 2.0 really takes it to the next level, and that is opening up to the supply chain to get them involved. Not just our traditional OEM suppliers, but also bring in many of these new disruptors that are coming in. And now that this network revolution is much more software-centric, it really lowers the bar, allowing many more entrants into the space here. So we're working now with an ecosystem with many suppliers of varying sizes and scales, and frankly, suppliers that traditionally didn't play necessarily in the telecommunications arena. Now they can get in. And this is a great opportunity to the entire ecosystem to participate in the overall Domain 2.0 program.
And of course, a big part of that ecosystem is the enterprise community. This Domain 2.0 push, this SDN push really links you carriers with the enterprise, and that's a huge value, is it not?
Absolutely. So SDN is huge for our enterprise customers. Gives them that control, gives them more control, more flexibility. You'll see in the future, we'll even bring some of these capabilities onto their site so that they can actually take advantage and do networking in ways they've never done before. And that's really the platform that Network on Demand is all about. And you'll see in subsequent announcements and releases in the coming months, more capabilities coming down the road.
Well, we look forward to it. I know the folks over at TIA are really excited about AT&T making this decision to really, again, put both feet into the SDN realm, if you will. I know you've been talking quite a bit this morning during your keynote address and now, so before you run out of breath, I'm going to let you go and get back to doing what you do here at the conference, and I want to thank you for your time as well.
Hey, thank you, Abe. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. And for all of our TIA Now coverage at TIA 2015 Network of the Future, please log on to tianow.org. So long.